The first thing I want to walk through about a how-to for administrators is how to manage a user's account. This is really important to keep the system running smoothly and making sure that the right people have the right permissions in the tool. So when a new user logs into the project tracker, administrators that are set up to receive notifications will get an email that there's a new user in the system. And that email will have a link to a user's page to set them up with the right permissions. When a person first logs in, when they haven't been there before, their role is automatically assigned to unassigned, which means they have a login and their name will be shown up here, but they won't have any permissions to do anything other than what a public user could do. So if someone logs in that you know needs to be able to enter projects, you're going to want to come into the project tracker and assign them a role. So from the Manage menu, you select the Users item. So this page shows a list of all of the people who have accounts who have logged into the John Day Basin Partnership Project Tracker. The columns include this role over here. So I pull this up, scroll over just a bit here.
You can make the columns skinnier too by dragging.
Thank you, Kathleen. So for example, there are a number of users, or just two here, users who have that role unassigned. So just before I go forward anymore, I want to point out that I'm here on the QA site. So this is a test environment. So I'm going to make some changes, but it won't affect the actual project tracker. So let's say Mitch Daniel has logged in. He has the role of unassigned. So if I select Mitch from the list, now I'm looking at Mitch's page in the project tracker. And there's an edit button here to edit the roles. If I pull that up, I've got the option to assign Mitch to a different role here. The roles are defined in that, both in the customization guide, but more thoroughly in the administrator quick guide that we're going to give you. So I'm not going to go over specifically what all of the roles mean here, but I'll point you towards that resource. I'm going to set Mitch as a normal user. I want to point out this should receive support emails really quick. This sets up whether a user should receive an email like when someone new logs in, or when an update is submitted, or when a project is submitted. In most cases, normal users, that will always be checked to no. But for administrators, you'll probably want to check that to yes to make sure that administrative users are getting those email notifications. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save that. And so now Mitch has a role there. All of the other information about a user's account is managed within the Keystone Identity Manager. So you can't actually change the username or email here in the project tracker. That all is edited in the Keystone Identity Manager, which is linked right here. If I go back to the user list, I want to point out one other handy feature. You can use this invite user tool here to preload a person into the project tracker. So this is handy if there are people that you know need to be entering projects, like members of the partnership, and they don't have an account yet. You can enter their name, their email, their organization. I'm going to create a test. I'm going to enter Kathleen. And Kathleen's email is some email, and Kathleen has an organization that is Sitka Technology Group. So once I press invite, the system is going to create an account for Kathleen and send an email to Kathleen's email address, which is a fake email address right here, with instructions on how to set up an account. The reason you might want to do this is because even without Kathleen as a new user having logged in here, you can set that role assignment before she even logs in, so that the first time she logs in, she's ready to go. You don't have to come back and change the user permissions. Any questions about how to manage users?
Yeah, I have one question. Can you assign an organization to someone? Like I'm in there and I see one of our staff doesn't have the organization listed. Is there a way to assign that?
So the organization, here, let me pull up my page here.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so the organization affiliation is actually set up within Keystone. So you can ask folks to edit their information within Keystone and select their organization there. And then the next time they log into the project tracker, their organization will be updated. There is.
So,
Yep.
so if you click on, well, I guess I don't know if we need to, Carmen, when I go into Keystone, it shows the organization, but it doesn't show it in the project tracker.
So whose name was that? Sorry, who's repeating?
Carmen Leguizamon.
Okay, so this is a little technical. If you ask Carmen to log out and log back in, on that login is when it's going to pull that information from Keystone.
Okay.
So
maybe she hasn't logged out?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she last logged in on January 21st. It seems like she's logged in but hasn't logged out or logged in again to pull that information over.
Okay.
Okay.